Hey guys, musicninjamat here with Zixay again, and today we're going to be talking about the TV side of DC and Marvel, talking about what has come in the past, what they're doing at the moment, and what they're planning to do in the future, and then sort of say personally who we think wins TV. I did a video like this before talking about when they released their movie slates.
Oh yeah.
That was fucking years ago now when they were like, this is what we're doing for the rest of time. I might try and link that video. So we'll start with DC. Looking at what has come before, obviously I'm not going to list off like everything they've ever done. I literally went on Wikipedia and looked at the list of TV shows and picked some. Also, it's live action only, because talking about the animated series,
dear God,
not only would it take a while, but that basically that's an episode in itself. Obviously, you've got the Batman 60 show, which is iconic. Obviously, I've actually watched little bits. I tried watching the movie. I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't.
When he's like, there's literally a shark biting his leg. And he's like, lucky I have shark repellent.
Yep.
I personally think, like, even though it is iconic, there's lots of nods to it and whatnot. They even released that animated film, The Caped Crusaders. But I also feel like it could have ruined Batman. Because, like, look at Batman now, like, the Dark Knight, the fucking badass that he is. And there's a certain generation that go, oh, Batman, yeah, he dances and, like, he's all campy. And I'm like, that's not Batman.
Yeah, like soon we're gonna have a generation of people who say Aquaman is like seriously badass and stuff.
Yeah, like if it had continued to go as well, other shows would have been like, well, superheroes are campy characters, and I think they would have done it with everybody, which I wouldn't have enjoyed.
Yeah.
At this point, it's more just something you watch for a laugh. The 70s Wonder Woman show with Linda Carter. I have never seen any of this.
Wasn't it really bad?
Again, though, it's iconic. It had an iconic theme, and there's so much merchandising behind it.
Yeah.
And I think it's as well. It's like it's live action Wonder Woman, which a lot of people had wanted for so long. It's like my thing, like I say, where I know there's not actually a good live action Hulk movie. But because it's a character I was dying to see in live action, rose-tinted glasses I watch it with, kind of thing. Yeah. So I feel like DC has a lot of iconic shows. Like a lot of Marvel's got forgotten.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Whereas these are still pop culture icons.
Yeah, I can't really think of any Marvel ones.
There was the original Flash from the 90s, which the guy that plays Barry's dad was the Flash. Yeah. I think that's quite cool. Mark Hamill's Trickster originally came from that show. I actually went out and bought the show as well because of like the Grant Gustin Flash. Mm-hmm. I was like, it'd be interesting to see where it came from, although I've heard it didn't really do too well. And it's stuff like the suit. They took the suit from the comic book, but it looks so bad on screen. It slipped under the radar more. Like, I didn't know there was a Flash show until this Flash show came out. Did you ever watch Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman?
I've never even heard of that.
It's a weird one because it's a Superman show, but it focuses more on, like, Lois and Clark as a relationship. And it was one of those, like, drama shows you'd expect to be on Sunday afternoon. Like, I used to watch it with my mum and dad.
Right.
And it used to bore the crap out of me. But at the same time, like, Superman would do something, he'd, stop a bus or whatever, and then I'd be really like, this is cool, because Superman.
Yeah.
And then it would go back to it being Lois and Clark, and just focus on those two, and I'm like, no, I'm bored again.
Right.
Again, I own the whole thing.
Of course you do.
Yeah, but that was, like, for me, one of my first exposures to the live action side of things.
Yeah.
I just think it tried to toe a line, which I think Smallville did better.
Yes.
Of its not in your face superhero show, and it allows non-superhero fans to enjoy it more. Mm-hmm. So Smallville, probably one of DC's more breakout shows. I feel like this is when them on TV really started to pick up.
Yes.
Because back when that was coming out, I wasn't reading comics. I didn't know what Smallville was. I thought it was like the OC or whatever. I thought it was just a teen show, drama thing. And then obviously looking back on it, I was like, Smallville, Superman lives in Smallville. And then I was like, holy shit, it's a Superman show. And that show was great for the fact that it took him from a sort of young adult all the way up to Superman.
Yeah, because of how long it went on.
Yeah, so you got all the Lana Lang stuff in Smallville, you got him going to Metropolis, you got the Lois Lane stuff. It went from the format of like, what bad guy are we fighting this week? And obviously it was people got powers from like the kryptonite shards that were lying around. But then it started doing series arcs, and we got Darkseid, we got Zod, we got the Justice League, kind of. The guy that played Green Arrow, and that was great. And you had like Bart Allen. Cyborg was to be fair, it was clever because he wasn't Cyborg. Like, he didn't have all the armour and stuff because they knew on their budget it was going to look shit.
Right.
So instead what they did was they said it was all internal.
Okay.
And I'm like, nah, I see why you did it, because to have a guy that, you know, still has the strength and everything, but say it's internal, so he hasn't got really shit looking
armour.
Yeah. But they were really adventurous with that show. And yeah, it was you properly grew up with Clark in that show. Because I started watching Smallville, and there are some dips in it. It's one of those shows I say to people, like, fight through the first couple of seasons, even if you are bored of it, because it's well worth it in the end with all the cool shit that they end up doing. And it's so satisfying, like, when he puts on the suit, and it's the fact that, like, he has to deal with his X-ray vision, then his heat ray, he can't fly straight away. Like, he really develops into Superman, which I think is interesting. And it's got a cool opening theme. All in all, the actors and actresses aren't actually all that cheesy. Like, the guy that played Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor is such a good Lex Luthor.
I agree.
Because he toes the perfect line between, like, people see him and they're like, oh, what a likeable guy. Like, how can you hate Lex Luthor? And then you see him be ruthless and stuff, and And they did some batshit stuff, because I'm pretty sure at one point, like, he dies but is a clone. It was dressed as a teen drama. Non-comic book fans started watching it, and by the time we got to the batshit crazy stuff, they were fucking invested. Yeah, Birds of Prey, which was a very short-lived one. They got a guy to play Joker in it, and then Mark Hamill did the voiceover, which was cool. But it's like Huntress and... is it Huntress, Catwoman, and Batgirl? But it's in a reality where Batman is dead and Huntress is Batman and Catwoman's daughter. It was just one of those, like, we're going to try something different, and it just didn't work, especially, again, like, I feel sorry for TV shows because it's budgetary stuff, like, even trying to make a Batarang look cool.
Yeah.
When it's going, it looks really cheesy and bad. But yeah, it was a show that just died very quickly, but it had a much darker feel to it and started to feel like, okay, this is a world where Batman would live, but
yeah,
you kind of fucked it. And then the last one, sadly, on the past list, however it is coming back in animated form, is Constantine. It took me a while to come around to watching it. It was only after he appeared in Arrow, and I'm like, okay, this character has connections to the Arrowverse, I'll watch it. And I loved it because it's so different. It's still a superhero show, but it's supernatural.
I watched it weekly as it was coming out.
Oh, fair enough.
And I loved it. I was so disappointed when it didn't get renewed.
Well, because I knew it didn't get renewed, but what obviously pissed me off is you hit episode 13.
Yeah, so they don't even, like, properly finish.
Yeah, they don't finish the season, and there was the big reveal. What's the name of the angel guy? And then the whole time
I don't know his name.
And
can't remember.
But you have a reveal like that, and you realise the whole dynamic of the show has just changed, and then it ended.
Yeah.
But loads of people want it back. Like I said, I think it's coming back in an animated form. Matt Ryan obviously voiced him in the Justice League Dark film, so we've seen an animated version, and I quite like it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Which leads us into the now, which is the CW, the Arrowverse is basically their big TV universe. I still think they really missed a trick not doing what Marvel does, connect it with the movies. Like, even with Marvel, it's not a massive in-your-face connection.
Yeah, it's just little things.
Yeah, but they share the same space. Like, obviously with Marvel, your street-level characters are on TV.
Yeah.
And then your Avengers are on the movie, and they do share the same space, but they live in different
areas.
Parts. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't see Iron Man, like, dealing with the really small town crime.
Well, this is why Spider-Man Homecoming was an interesting in-between.
Yes.
Because he even says, like, when he mentions Vulture, he's like, yeah, that's under our pay grade. Like, unless it's an alien invasion or Ultron or whatever, the Avengers deal with that, which is why stuff like The Hand,
yeah,
of course they're gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, CW. Arrow was a really weird place to start.
It really was.
I stand by my theory of someone turning around and going, I want to make a Batman show, and then being like, yeah, but Batman's on the movie screens, and like, we're not making a Batman show, and someone going, so I need a vigilante, billionaire, blah blah, and just being like, okay, Oliver Queen, Green Arrow,
yeah,
he's like Batman,
and then they made
just
him
starting
exactly
it there.
like Batman.
I missed out on seasons 1 and 2. I watched 3 and started watching from there. I do need to go back and watch 1 and 2.
Have you still not watched them?
No.
Ooh.
And everyone says they're the best seasons.
They are.
I actually have seasons 1 to 4.
Okay, yeah, because it got progressively worse.
Yeah, but it was more like when the Flash show was coming out, I was excited. And then when I knew obviously they were going to start crossing over, I started watching Arrow.
Yeah.
Arrow's interesting in that there's a lot to like, but he doesn't feel like the Oliver Queen I read about.
No, he's too dark and gritty.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they're like, he's Batman, and I'm like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one that makes quips and
yeah, but now they've got that being the Flash instead.
I feel like as well with Arrow, they have a habit of leading it down a more happy route, and that's what the fans want. And then they just keep fucking up Oliver Queen's life.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, aren't you invested? It's like when they write about, like, Daredevil and Spider-Man, and they always get put through shit. Because they're like, that's what you want, though. You want your heroes to struggle and blah.
But, like, there's a level.
It would be nice for him to have a happy ending now and then.
Like, I wish Arrow ended when him and Felicity just move in together, you know, drive off into the sunset.
Yeah, when they drive off and he's like, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah, I wish that was where it ended.
Yeah.
Because after that, it just got terrible.
Yeah.
They added some new heroes to the team as well. You know the tech guy who works for Felicity? He becomes part of the team, and I don't know, they just keep adding really crappy heroes to the mix.
Ra's al Ghul, he's decent, but the fact that he's so after Oliver all the time, I'm like, it's because you can't have Batman.
Yeah.
John Barrowman, who's he? Malcolm
Mullen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, quite an interesting character. Like, walks that perfect line between, like, I really want to hate you, but I
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got up to, like, halfway through Damien Dark being the villain.
I also quite like, though, they've been clever to put nods in, like, so we had Arsenal.
Yes.
And then when she's like, can I be Red Arrow? And he's like, you're Speedy. And I'm like, you've managed to nod that, like, these are all the different iterations.
Yes.
So then obviously we have Flash. Flash, I think, is probably my favourite
Same.
DC show, just because it was a proper comic book show. Like, there was still drama and it was exactly like the comics. It was fun, but had moments of drama in. It had the right shedding of comedy. Grant Gustin is an amazing Barry Allen.
Yes.
And I like how, you know, we've had King Shark and we've had Grodd.
Yeah,
and
we've
they're
had
like,
some great villains.
yeah, Captain Cold as well. What's the name? Wentworth Miller?
Yeah. He was amazing.
He's amazing. When they introduced Heatwave, I loved it.
Yeah.
Didn't Golden Glider?
Yes.
Yeah, got introduced.
And then she had a thing with Cisco briefly, and it was really funny.
And I like as well, like how obviously Cisco is Vibe, and then you had Caitlyn is Killer Frost, and then they started doing the multiple Earths thing and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is incredible what you're doing, that they really just went
like
full
all
on.
out. Like now we've got Wally West as Kid Flash. And
Yeah.
now that Barry's in the Speed Force, I think Wally for the first few episodes might just be the Flash.
Yeah, that would be cool as well.
And for the first time, we're getting a villain that's not a speedster.
But I like as well that the Rogues weren't straight up villains, because again in the comics there's that respect they have for Flash where they're like, well, I don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
It was one of the few shows where I literally couldn't wait for the next week.
Yes.
To see what was going to happen.
I'm really excited for the next season.
Yeah, I think they have just absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
Supergirl was weird.
I didn't start watching Supergirl until they started doing crossovers with her as well.
But this is what I find interesting is like, yeah, she didn't start on the CW, and then they
moved her over.
Yeah, and they actually cast a Superman and stuff.
Yeah, even added them to the universe.
Yeah,
because of the multiverse thing in Flash, they could do that.
But this is a thing I like about the CW shows, is they don't shy away from crossovers, and they embrace them so much that we had Invasion. We're getting another one where they go, basically you'll have one episode in each of the shows, and they make up a crossover, and I'm like, it's just like comics.
I love it, yeah.
And I think it's so well done, because this is one of the things about the Netflix shows, is that the whole time I'm like, oh, Daredevil might turn up here, and someone will turn up, and they're like, oh, you got Claire Temple, and I'm like, I get we're getting a Defenders show, but
like
I
can
wanted
still have them turn up.
Yeah, I wanted more crossover there.
Yeah.
Another thing I really like about Flash as well was the massive hint to Crisis.
Yes.
So where it says he goes vanishing and he dies at the end of Crisis in the comics, and the one moment where I properly lost my shit is where they're like, oh yeah, Flash, founder of the Justice, and then it cuts off and you're like, we have Legends of Tomorrow. When that first happened, I thought, oh okay, so Flash and Arrowsmith will be on the team. But they're not. It is its own team.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, this is cool that we're getting a team. It's not the Justice League, but it's something completely new and fresh.
Yeah. I didn't like the team at first, but it grew on me.
They do time travel and just go all out with it.
Yeah, like Vandal Savage.
Because don't you see old Oliver Queen, don't you?
You do.
Does he have two arms?
No.
Dark Knight Returns!
I know, right? I love it. And you've got Deathstroke's son and...
Oh, Ravager. When they announced it, I was like, okay, I get you're not going to do Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough doing Supergirl. I think it's actually really cool that Supergirl is the lead, it's her show, and Superman's in it.
Yes.
But it's not a Superman show, like we've seen that, we've done that.
But
he's a
it's
supporting
like
character.
Supergirl.
Yeah.
And I love it. I really want a Supergirl t-shirt, but then I don't want people to mistake it for a Superman t-shirt.
She's a really likeable actress as well.
Absolutely.
Like, she's just a good Supergirl. Yeah. I think it's got Ally McBeal in. Do you remember Ally McBeal? Oh, it's a good show. The other shows were doing Powerless got cancelled, and it was fucking horrendous.
Isn't that their comedy?
It was their comedy, and it was basically all about people and not superheroes, and it was like people that worked for Wayne, and it was just really
didn't care.
fucking bad. And I watched some clips from it and was like, this is terrible, because it was like always implied that superheroes were there, but you never saw them.
Right.
And then of course we've got Gotham. Gotham rubs a lot of people the wrong way because of ages of characters, origins of characters, all the rest of it. If before you start watching Gotham, if you think of all the Elseworld stories Batman has had in comics, if you sit down and go, this writer, it's his interpretation of Batman, it's his Elseworld story, it's the same characters that we know and love,
but it's just different origins and
and different timelines,
then you're
and
totally
whatnot.
fine.
And like, again, some of the stuff they've done, like with Jerome, and he's the breakout character for me. He's such a good Joker character. Again, they put nods into everything, like obviously he has his face cut off.
Yes.
I saw a teaser today where it's like Gotham will know fear, and then at the end this guy's like Crane, and he's like, there is no Crane, there's only Scarecrow, and he turns round and he's in the full
That's cool.
Scarecrow gear, and he's got like wrist things on that shoot out the gas. They introduced him in like season 1, didn't they?
Yeah.
Season 1, season 2. We've seen Mr. Freeze, which is cool. Obviously you've got Penguin and Riddler.
Yeah.
Again, I saw it as a Smallville thing where the guy that plays Bruce, if this is a long running show, say they did 10 seasons over 10 years,
then
he would be a young man, and then you can end that show with him
putting on
the Batman suit.
Yeah.
Some of the future releases they're doing, we've got Krypton, which is set 100 years or something bollocks. Set before Man of Steel, and it focuses on Superman's grandfather, and it's just like chilling on Krypton. Krypton blows up, and that's it. That's Krypton's purpose.
Yeah.
They're working on a Titan show, but it's on a weird web format.
Yeah.
Any show when they're like, oh, we're putting it on a web format, I'm like, why do you hate this show? Apparently they're making a Static Shock, and I remember the cartoon show, and remember not knowing that he was anything to do with DC.
Yeah.
And yeah, Black Lightning, which we've spoken about, the trailer and whatnot. Yeah, apparently his powers as well. He has like electricity powers, he has like Olympic level athleticism. Then I've put down Lucifer, Preacher, iZombie ? Because I know nothing about these shows.
Okay. I've not watched Preacher, so I have no idea.
Do you know what's crazy? Preacher, Seth Rogen and all work on it.
Yeah.
And apparently Preacher is just batshit insane.
Lucifer is the best thing you'll ever watch.
I take it Satan's a theme in it.
Yeah, he's the main character. He owns a nightclub called Lux. It's a detective show. He works with the police chief to find murderers and and punish them because he's Lucifer.
Okay.
And it's really cool because you get to see some of the things he can do. And there's this one character that when he's with them, he can die. Plus the person who plays him is the person who plays Gary and Miranda.
Going about Miranda as in the comedian lady who's really not that funny.
Yeah, I don't like her either. But...
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
All I know is that the lead girl in iZombie is fit, even as a corpse.
Yeah. And
That sounds so bad.
It does. And her character name is Liv Moore, and she's a zombie, so that's great.
What's the premise of iZombie?
Okay, so there was a party on a boat. There was a drug. It made people go batshit. They started biting people, turned everybody into zombies. She turns into a zombie because she's on the boat. And then she quits her job and everything, goes and works in a morgue so she can get brains. And she helps a police chief solve murders.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. No, but she gets visions, like memories of the people's brains that she's eaten. So that's how she solves their murders.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well, it makes as much sense as it can.
Well, yeah, it's a comic book.
So then we have Marvel. The only ones that strike me as important from the past. All I noted down, the ones that I'm familiar with, Hulk from the 70s, the Lou Ferrigno one, where it was just Lou Ferrigno being massive and they painted him green.
Yeah.
There were loads of TV movies of it and whatnot. And I've watched bits and pieces of it and for its time and whatnot. I think it's like Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk is very iconic. A lot of the theme music's used quite a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, Family Guy parodies the crap out of that show as well, which I love. But I enjoy it, and again, it's early days of seeing these heroes like live action on screen. And then realistically there was nothing that properly sprung into my mind. You've got like Mutant X, which ran for 3 seasons. It looks like they took the concept of like obviously mutants, the X-Men and stuff, wanted to do their own thing with it. And then Blade had a series which, from my understanding, it's a continuation of the films, because the first episode was like a movie. Just people weren't as into it as they were the films. Yeah, with Marvel, there was not a lot until we hit Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We had Agent Carter, which I was so annoyed that this got cancelled because I hate unfinished shows.
Yes.
Like, season 2 could have ended in such a way that they could have maybe answered questions in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, they could have tied up loose ends, but they have that fucking key, and he's like, at the end, he's just like, oh, a key, mysterious, and I'm like, this show got cancelled, and now
we never know.
Yeah. But they always do have the option to tidy stuff up.
Yeah.
In other ways. But Agent Carter ended up being a really good show, which really shocked me, because I was like, I love Hayley Atwell, I love the character, but will I love the character enough
to watch an entire show about her?
Yeah. Jarvis is amazing.
Loved him.
It's essentially her trying to prove that she's a hell of an agent and she shouldn't just be sat behind a desk, like taking phone calls and whatnot, and she's just so badass and full of sass and whatnot, and
I love
it fills in some of the time gap between Cap going on ice and obviously Iron Man.
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., their first TV show connected to the MCU. When this was announced, I lost my shit, because in my head I was like, if in between the movies I'm then getting a weekly show, like I'm getting a weekly dose of Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Now that's almost a joke because of how much fucking TV shows they're pumping out. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. definitely picked up in season 2.
I have an obsession with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, like, season 1, I do like this show, I do like it, when in my head I'm like, I don't really like it.
It's because they wanted to show that people without powers could do things.
Yeah, the concept of the show was all about people without powers, which worked, but the thing is, the whole point of S.H.I.E.L.D. is they're there because the police will deal with, like, muggers and bollocks, and S.H.I.E.L.D. deal with
powers.
But I think it was because we had some powered villains, but then they gradually more wanted to bring in, like, powered heroes and whatnot.
And then we got Inhumans and all sorts, and now I really love it.
Well, I like as well that it exists in its own space, but it ties in with the films in as much as, like, you see them cleaning up in London after Thor: The Dark World.
Well, every so often they'll mention the Sokovia Accords or something.
Yeah. It really baffles me with some of the stuff with Coulson, because you have to be level 7 to know that Coulson's alive, and I'm fairly certain Captain America is higher than that in Winter Soldier. So I'm like, do the Avengers know he's back alive? Do they not?
I don't think
I hope
they know.
that gets answered in Infinity War.
Yeah, I hope.
Or somehow.
Because, like, Coulson lost his arm.
Yeah. And
he's got a full-on, like, animatronic arm now.
Yeah.
But it's not like a Bucky arm.
Laserfinger.
Yeah, it's not like a Bucky arm where it's full on metal. It looks like a normal arm, but then he can like control drones, and he's got like a holographic Cap's shield in
That's cool as fuck.
And it's awesome, because they mention in Spider-Man Homecoming
a prototype for Cap's new shield.
For Cap's new shield. It was the shield in Coulson's arm.
This is why I bring him along. I'm really far behind on everything, because it's one of those, like, when pretty much a whole season's come out, so I'm trying to catch up with everything. I know roughly stuff that's happened, because obviously we had such a big drive with the Inhumans. They've kept that up, really, haven't they? Because season 3 was the Secret Warriors. Pretty sure they did not get a team together.
No, they didn't. They had 2 Inhumans.
Yeah.
One guy who could melt things, and Yo-Yo, who they've kept on. But then they brought in Ghost Rider,
which I think is really cool. Ghost Rider and Blade, they want on Netflix.
Yes.
Because they should exist in that dark...
But they absolutely can take Robbie Reyes from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And put him in a Netflix show because of the way that they've used him so far.
Yeah.
Because now he can... Doctor Strange sling ring?
Yeah.
He can do that, but with his chain.
Oh, cool.
To travel to different universes and all sorts. So he uses it to, like, travel to hell. Have him travel to hell and have it on a Netflix. That would be great. Because he's a decent actor.
When the show first started, I had a very strong, like, these are really TV actors apart from Clark Gregg.
Yeah.
Daisy. I always want to call her
Sky. Yeah.
Like, she has really grown on me. It's interesting because I'm like, did they always know she was going to be Daisy? And did they write out a character arc? Or was it one of those afterthoughts where they were like, oh, we could have her go through Terrigenesis, she could be an Inhuman, and then someone went, she could be Quake.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, cool, let's do that.
I like to think that they thought it all through.
Yeah, but yeah, I really like the cast. I love the fact that Ward was Hydra, because I think you need that impact of like, you love this team and you love this characters, and then one of them was Hydra.
Yeah.
Because that's the point in Hydra.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. The only thing is, I feel like they're doing Hydra to death in that show. Like, I get that Hydra's always a threat in the comics, but it's like, you beat Hydra, they go away for a bit, and then they might come back, whereas in the movies, they're like, yeah, Hydra, we beat him, whereas in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're like, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I like, though, that they started making connections between the Inhumans and Hydra, and
yeah, and like where the Hydra head came from.
Yeah.
And everything. Then they kind of strayed away from it when they brought in Ghost Rider, when they brought in LMDs.
Yeah.
Because they go into like a simulated universe. This universe is when Hydra won.
It makes more sense now why we're getting an Inhumans TV show, because it's almost like a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like,
Yeah.
you've already built the foundations. It's a Tillin. I don't care what people say, it's called a Tillin. They call it Atalan.
I call it a Tillin.
Yeah. But anyway, it's the fact that they're on the section of the moon.
Yeah.
And I like the premise of Inhumans, where they're basically like, so Inhumans keep fucking popping up on Earth, and Maximus is like, maybe it's time for us to like reveal ourselves, be the royal family, and like, because I think they're doing something similar to the comics, where the Inhumans are very much, they're like, because of we're a minority, if the humans aren't a fan of us, like, we'll be in danger, like those mutants.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like when the Terrigen bomb goes off in the comics, and Maximus is like, well, this is great, there's so many of us now, we don't have to hide or be scared, like, if anything, we can rule the humans. So I'm fairly certain, because Cloak and Dagger, Inhumans, and I think the New Warriors are all kind of existing
in the same universe.
Well, they're all part of the MCU.
Well, yeah.
But they're gonna be on Freeform and ABC, so kind of be that side of things.
Yeah.
Then obviously we've got the Netflix side of things, so Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Daredevil just blew everybody away. I don't think anyone expected it to be as good as it was.
Yeah.
And it was just solid. Jessica Jones, I'd argue, was then even better.
Yeah.
Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I like them both, but I don't think either of them come close to touching
Daredevil and
Jessica Jones.
I've seen Luke Cage and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched Iron Fist.
A lot of people didn't like Iron Fist, and I kind of get why. Mainly it's pacing with that show. Like, Danny Rand comes back and is trying to prove he's Danny Rand. Not only does this go on for ages, but he's like, I'm Danny Rand. And they're like, no, you're not. And he's like, yeah, I am. And you're there like, okay, well, maybe they don't believe you. You should try something else.
Yeah.
Rather than just being like, but I'm Danny.
Yeah.
And I like how the Netflix shows, it's not Disney-fied. It's really dark and violent. And I'm glad that Marvel has done this, where you've got your different sections and different characters will live in different parts.
So like movies, it can all be happy ending, all that jazz.
Yeah.
And same with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's still quite a peppy show.
Yeah.
But then Netflix, it's allowed to be dark and broody.
So many of them ended on cliffhangers now, but obviously all leading into Defenders.
Yes.
So that's fair enough. Daredevil season 1 is my favourite, but I like Jessica Jones better than I like Daredevil season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we got some of my favourite moments came out of season 2. Punisher and Wilson Fisk meeting
Yeah.
in prison, like all that kind of stuff. Wilson Fisk is amazing because it's such a weird take on the guy where he's quite socially awkward, he's OCD, but has that massive temper about him, and like he's not just like that fat guy.
Yeah,
like
he's
he's in the
got
comics and stuff.
Personality.
Well, and he is terrifying, and he is a good fighter.
Yeah.
Kingpin was a Spider-Man villain, and is one of Spider-Man's biggest villains. And everyone has said they will happily see that version of him take on Spider-Man. Yeah, because that guy's been in movies. He was in Jurassic World.
Oh yeah.
Luke Cage and Iron Fist are both fine shows. Like Carleen Wing is probably the standout in Iron Fist. Obviously, you've got Claire Temple as like the connection between all of them. There's a lot in Jessica Jones. Like the trailers were incredible. They themed it really well with just like the colour purple being everywhere.
Absolutely.
David Tennant.
He was amazing.
He was so fucking scary.
I know, right?
And yeah, like with Daredevil, you built up to them revealing the suit. We still haven't seen Iron Fist's suit, and I'm really curious to see what it will be like.
Yeah.
And then Legion, which is on my to watch list because it's 8 episodes long.
Legion.
All people have said to me is it's trippy as hell.
It's possibly my favourite superhero show ever.
Legion is Xavier's son, isn't he?
Yes.
Does he have similar powers?
He's like Xavier, powers-wise, but he's so much stronger.
Okay.
It's like Xavier times 100. The whole TV show is about insanity. Like, he starts off in a mental hospital. You know, the whole Legion thing, he's got more than one mind in his mind. But instead of it being like a split personality, it's another mutant in his head that infested him while he was a baby and made him almost commit suicide, which is how he ended up in the mental hospital. And then it's just like people constantly telling him, you're crazy, and then all of a sudden these mutants turn up and say, nah, you're not. There's a mutant in your head. Let's get it out. We actually have powers.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is there any mutant you recognise though?
No, but they've done it so well that you don't have to.
Okay.
Like, they make you love those characters instantly.
Yeah. For the future, you've got Punisher. Apparently as well, Punisher having his own show was not planned at all.
It did so well in Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've said, like, Punisher is violent. Like,
I can imagine.
Really going... So, like, they make the other Netflix shows, like, quite tame.
Mm.
Yeah, we've got Cloak and Dagger and the New Warriors. New Warriors have been cast. Cloak and Dagger looks... It's just different parts of the Marvel universe.
There's all of New Warriors been cast now.
I believe so, yeah. Like the fact Squirrel Girl's in it, though, I'm just like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
Because they've said New Warriors is the first comedy.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the basis of it.
So Squirrel Girl being in it is amazing.
Yeah. We got The Runaways is being made for Hulu, and this is part of the MCU, which is really weird because Runaways are so different. It's a group of kids who find out that their parents are actually a group of supervillains.
Oh god.
But yeah, it's something so different, but it's another sector of the Marvel universe, so they're bringing that in. You got Gifted. Yeah, it's like you said, it will be exciting to see if it's anything like Legion.
Yes.
If it's treated well like that.
Yeah.
The only other thing on this list, Damage Control. Because what did they try and make? They tried to make Most Wanted, which was Hunter and Bobby.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's been picked up. Damage Control is one they've wanted to do for so long, which is... It really is focusing on the people.
Yes.
And it's Damage Control, the people that clean up after everything. I think treated right, it could make a really good comedy show.
Yes.
Because, you've got the Avengers smashing building downs, and then this group of people that just come in and they're like, for fuck's sake.
Stop.
Yeah, and you can easily have ties to... Because obviously it's Tony Stark helps that Damage Control in the MCU.
Yes.
And it's been brought up in...
Doesn't he, own them or something at some point?
Because it's brought up in Spider-Man Homecoming, so... If I had to pick a winner, I think I'd say Marvel, only because there's more to be invested in, because it's part of the universe as well.
They have so many different platforms.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's it's all connected. I really love what they're doing on the CW. DC has made a lot of good, iconic shows. Like I said, I love the fact that they're making the crossovers of the shows more regular.
Yes.
But when I watch those, at the end of the day, I watch those shows and that's it.
Yeah, like, they're not even linking them into the movies.
No, whereas, like, when I watch this, I'm so easily pleased. I'm the kind of person that, like, I'm sat watching Daredevil and Foggy's like, you can strap wings to my head, it doesn't make me Captain America. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, you exist in the same universe, that's really cool. And they'll talk about, like, the incident, like the Battle of New York.
Yeah.
And, like, in Jessica Jones, that woman goes mental and tries to kill Jessica. She's like, I had family that died in the Battle of New York. And because it's all connected, I'm more invested and I'm always looking for those connections and Easter eggs. And it's like I said, it's the fact that because the Arrowverse on CW, that's it. And then we get like Gotham, whereas they've got like the Netflix shows and the ABC shows and all different, like I said, all different tones. Like I know some people that won't watch the movies, wouldn't Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'd think it was the worst thing ever, but they love the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
See, who would be your winner? Because I feel like you have quite a big love for the DC Arrowverse.
I do, but that's only because of Flash. I love more than one thing in Marvel.
Okay. Well, what? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I like Legion, love Jessica Jones and Daredevil.
So, thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. With commenting, obviously, just tell us your opinion on DC versus Marvel. What's your favourite show and why? What's your least favourite show and why?
If there's anything we've missed.
Yeah, that's true. If there's like, can't believe you didn't talk about this, it's so epic and blah. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't know about it. In the description now, have your Twitch page, which is good, and then links to like my Facebook and Twitter. We will be seeing you in the next one. So, tatty bye. Say bye!